Hello YouTube! We're on the Real Programming channel. It's about HTML and CSS. My name is Andrei. This is our 61 lesson. I greet you. We will talk about adding the basic styles to the elixirs. And there are no dumb questions to start. If I don't set the weight of an element, then where does the weight come from? The default weight for a block element is auto, which means that it will expand to fill whatever space is available. If you think about any of the web pages we've been building, each block element can expand to the entire width of the browser, and that's exactly what it does. Now hold this thought, because we're going to go into this in details in the next chapter. Just remember that auto allows to the content to fill whatever space is available. After talking padding, border and margin into account. What if I don't have any margin, padding or borders? Then your content gets to use the entire width of the box. If the weight of the content area is equal to 300 pixels and you have a no padding, border and margin, then the weight of the entire box would also be 300 pixels. What are different ways I can specify widths? You can specify an actual size, usually in pixels, or you can specify a percentage. If you use percentage, the width is calculated as a percentage of the weight of the container. The limit is which you could be the body, div, etc. What about the height? In general, the height of an element is left as the body default, which is auto, and the browser expands the content area vertically so the content is visible. Take a look at the elixirs section after we set the weight to 200 pixels, and you'll see the div got a lot tailored. You can explicitly set a height, but you risk having the bottom of your content overflow into the other elements if your height isn't big enough to contain it. In general, leave your element's height unspecified to the default to up. Exercise: sharpen your pencil and sheet of paper. Here's the box that has all the weights labeled. What is the weight of the entire box? So, sizes: 30 pixels, 2 pixels, 5 pixels. Text area: 200 pixels, 10 pixels, 2 pixels, and 20 pixels. So let's talk about adding the basic styles to the elixirs. We've got the weight out of the way. What's left to do? First, we're going to change the weight of the elixirs div to make it narrower. Next, we'll knock out some of the styles you're already familiar with, like padding, text arrangement, and the background image. We're doing the steps next, and then you will got all left are the next text line, height, and the hidden colors. You're going to see that you need to upgrade your CSS selector skills just a bit to get those changes. Now we're going to concentrate on some of the basic styles, like the padding, the text arrangement, and also getting the background image for the cocktail glasses in the elixirs div. You're already familiar with how most of it works, so let's take a quick look at the CSS. Remember, we're going to apply all this style to the elixirs div, so that it only affects the div and the elements it contains, not the entire page. And the default padding on a div is 0 pixels, so we're going to add some padding to provide a bit of space. For the content, notice that we're not adding any padding on the top, because there is already plenty of room there thanks to default margin on the H2 headings. Look back at the last test drive and you'll see there are plenty of room above the H2, but we don't need it now on the right, bottom and left. We're adding some margin on the left to identify the elixirs from the rest of the page a bit. This is going to come in handy later. Use text legend on block elements to legend the text their content. Here we are going to center legend in the text, and finally we are specifying the image to use in background. In this case, the tile image, we are setting the background repeating property to repeat it, which will tile the image only in the horizontal direction. To test drive the new styles. Now it's time to add those new properties to your long CSS file and reload the page. Let's check out the changes, the headings, the images, and the text are all centered in the div, and have a little more breathing room now that there's some padding in place. We also got a little decoration at the top with a tiled cocktail image. The tiled image looks nice and on the tiles horizontally. We've got some padding and the bottom on the left and everything centered. Wait just a sec. Why does the text legend property affect the enlargement of the images? Shouldn't it legend only text? Seems like it should, because something else added legends image too. Good point. It doesn't seem right, does it? But the truth is that text legend will legend all the line content is on the block element. So in this case, we are setting the property on the div block element, and all its line content is nicely centered as a result. Just remember that text legend, despite its name, works on any kind of inline element. One other thing to keep in mind is the text legend property should be set on block elements only. And it has no effect if it's used directly on inline elements like image. That's interesting because I noticed the text inside the div is all inside the other block elements like h2, h3 and p. So if text legend is legend inline elements in the div block element, how is the text in this nested block elements getting legend? Good catch. All the text inside the div element is in the nested block elements, but it is all legend now. That's because these block elements inherit the text legend property from the div. So here is a difference rather than the div itself legend. The text is headings and the paragraphs which it want to, because these are block elements. The headings and paragraphs are creating the text legend value of the center and then legending their own content in the center. So what? Well, if you think about it, this gives you a lot of leverage when you use a div, because you can wrap a section of content in a div and then apply styles to the div rather than each individual element. Of course, keep in mind that not all properties are inherited by default, so this won't work for all properties. Exercise. So now that you understand weights, what's the total weight of the elixirs box? To start with, we know the content area is 200 pixels. We also set some left and right padding that affects the weight, as well as border that's set to within. Just assume a thin border is 1 pixel thick, like it is on most browsers. And what about margins? We set the left margin value, but no right margin value, so that the right margin is 0 pixels by default. Here's all properties that relate to weight. Your job is to figure out the total weight of the elixirs div. We're almost there. Very close to having the elixirs done. What left? Then all we got left are the text line heights and the hidden colors. You're going to see that you need to upgrade your CSS selector skills just a bit to get those changes. We're on the last step. Sounds pretty easy, right? After all, you've done all this before. In fact, given that you know you can just set styles on the div and they will be inherited, you can take care of this real fast. We almost got this done. We just need to change the header colors and also the line height. What are we trying to do? Let's take a quick look at what we are trying to do to the heading colors. What we have now here just the main hidden dependency in the long HTML. Right now the CSS says to color h1 and h2 element text aquamarine, so all h1 and h2 elements are that colored, even in the elixirs div. And here is the rule specifying the h1 and h2 color in the long CSS file. What we want? We want the h1 and h2 in the main page to stay aquamarine. And we want to change the h2 and h3 elements in the elixirs section to be black and red. But if we change the existing rule for h1, we'll affect the font color of every h2 and the main page, and if we and the new rule of h3 and any h3 is that get added to the main page letter will be red, which is not what we want. Now we could use a class like Jim suggested, but we are going to give Frank's idea a try first. What we need is a way to select this sentence, and we'll talk about this in the next lesson. And on this our 61 lesson are over. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel, please put likes, share with friends, comment. Eat bananas, chocolate and nuts, drink more water for the effective work of our brains. Bye!